let's from the last time Markella and I got together, we were kind of talking about investing and stuff like this, and then a few questions came up as we went along, and so here we are back again to kind of go over some of the questions that we thought about that you might be interested in. And one of the questions are what, Markella? Something about losing?
Well, the first question tonight is going to be explain a loss on a property or an investment. I think this is a good start.
Yeah, a lot of people like losing. Not much, all right? I've lost probably as much as a lot of people will make in their lifetime because, and the reason was that, because the banks in our area closed down. So a little bit different. I have lost on some other things when there were family issues involved with some of my partners, but in the long term, we held on to them long enough to make money. So people talk about losses like you want to buy at the right price and not lose. If you're a speculator, that term is very important. Buy at the right price, do the work on the property, and hope you sell it for more than what you bought and put into it. That's kind of typical.
Yep,
that's speculation.
Speculation.
Okay. If you're investing in property, you buy over a longer term, and real estate tends to protect you as an investor over a long period of time.
Okay.
All right? Because you have both cash flow and you have appreciation over a long period of time. So just a real funny story. I live over in Wood Estates, and probably Coco knows that. He's looking at this, and you know that. And we bought our house a couple of years back, mainly because I'm old, for $38,000. And the bank came in and told me they only appraised it for $35,000. I did pay over. I paid $3,500 over, and that was a lot of money back then. And they told me right to my face I'd never be worth more than $40,000 in my lifetime.
Wow.
And it just appraised for $550.
Huh?
All right, so people have to understand that what people say is not as important as the goals you have to perhaps live somewhere or get the house of your dreams. But that, I happen to fall into this one because at the time, market was horrible, rates were up around 9%, nobody's buying property, but the properties couldn't appraise either because of the higher interest rates. Right. And so bankers told me I should never buy it. And I didn't follow their advice, just so you know.
Okay, so right now I'm looking at possible ways of what, that was many years ago.
Yeah, that was a couple years ago.
That happened.
Yeah.
Today things are quite different.
Yeah, they are. But bear in mind,
what did you think you learned, though, on your investments from years ago? What's the difference of the investments from years ago and the investments?
Probably don't believe most people who are giving you advice. That's
okay,
probably the best thing. That may sound funny, but don't forget when we bought that house. Just to give you some, my average commission back then was $300 per sale, and I was taking on a $410 a month mortgage payment, jumping from $165, about $200 up to $400, and our average sale price back then, was $18,250.
Right.
I was paying twice as much for something, and people were giving me all kinds of outside advice that you probably shouldn't do it. At the time, I was 31, so you got to look back and say probably I should have done it. So it depends on your goals and where you want to get to, and of course your life. So today, prices are a bit higher. You say, well, okay, prices are a bit higher.
Okay, so now today, you still want to be an investment or buying property.
Yeah.
What's the difference of making an offer today, a good offer today? Is it any different than when you made offers way back when?
Well, the houses were a little bit newer back then. Bear in mind, that's 50 years ago.
Right.
So today, probably you're going to get an inspection, but to put yourself kind of in front of the seller and in front of the market that's going on today, because a lot of people want to make an offer over asking price, and then they get the inspection, and then they want to hammer the price back down, correct?
Right, yeah.
Because the inspection shows all these things around it. So if you're going with knowledge, you're probably going to have to do some work on the average home, and you probably can put together, I want to do an inspections for my information only. That way you can kind of judge the price of things to be done. And if there's anything detrimental to our health, I may address the issue on the inspection report, such as radon, maybe bad water in a well test or something like that. Probably the seller shouldn't be living there with those conditions anyway, so they'd correct them in either case.
So when do you think it's wise to walk away? I mean, especially if there are multiple offers and you feel that you've put the best one in as you talk to your broker, you've put a good offer together, and there are other ones. When do you feel it's the right time to walk away?
Probably, now this comes to being represented by a buyer broker. So you're
That's
looking at the
right.
buyer end of things, okay? And a lot of people come without that representation or somebody who has the experience to kind of help them through the process. I find a lot of brokers list houses rather low in pricing today, hopefully to get the price pushed up from the market instead of doing their homework to say, I should have priced it up here and then negotiate close to what it's listed for, all right? So a good buyer broker is going to probably do background check on the values in the surrounding area and what's going on, and if you can afford that payment that I'm sure as a buyer broker you sent him over to somewhere to be qualified, pre-approved for a mortgage.
Do you think that's really important? Tell me a little bit about when a first-time buyer comes to you, you're the broker. What are some of the suggestions or questions you ask them before they start their house hunt? I think a lot of people may put the cart before the horse.
True.
What do you think what were some of the first steps you would tell them to do before you started searching?
Well, a lot of people come to you and they won't be pre-approved.
Okay.
Okay, so you have to get pre-approved. And some mortgage company, we work with a number of them, but some mortgage companies should have them pre-approved for a mortgage. Second thing I find interesting is, say you come from an apartment, and one of the things you say, well, I want bigger bedrooms. I'm a first-time buyer, so I need big bedrooms. Then you ask them the magical question, what's the size of your bedroom? And they say, well, it's small. Well, to you, it might be small. To the next person coming behind you, that bedroom might be the right size.
Right.
So if you can't tell me the size of your bedrooms, my easy way around that is, well, once you're pre-approved, they'll find you a big bedroom, you know.
Right.
So it's kind of funny that people will throw out questions for you. Of course, they always will come in and say, well, I really want to buy at the right price.
Right.
True, the first time
Yes,
buyer?
absolutely.
I got to buy it there. Well, years ago, the right price wasn't to pay $38,500 in the example I made, true?
Yes.
The right price would have been $35,000. That's what the house appraised for.
That's right.
A few years later, that right price evaporated. So the right price now is if it meets your goals, satisfies your family. You can always trade up, but if at this moment it meets your goals, meets your pocketbook, probably you should buy the house and get off of the treadmill of renting.
I think that's very sound advice.
You know, if you're paying $1,200 a month, you're paying $14,000 a year. And I like good tenants because I have a few of them, and I like them paying me $14,000 a year. And I hope they stay.
Renting is very good for many people.
True.
But for many people, there comes a time where they really want a part of that American dream.
So
And,
so
that's
I
when they
raised
come
rents
to
on some of my tenants the past year,
Uh-oh.
and good thing. And one of them moved out and bought a house, and
Oh.
they commented, we should have bought a house a long time ago, but you made it comfortable for us to stay at the lower rent.
Oh.
So once I
okay.
increased the rent, it became uncomfortable for them to pay the higher rent because now they're paying me more money and they could go out and buy a house for about the same rental price. So if you're pre-qualified, you can find that out. Probably a good time to move
All right,
before
so
the
now-
landlord ups the rent on you.
All right. Well, now, so our next thought would be, where can you find the right home?
You probably will only find the right home if you've written down the goals that you want in that house. Okay. And the mortgage you can afford. Now, if your goals are, I want to be in waterfront, I want 4,000 square foot house, and I want an acre of land, and I want a dock, and I only want to pay $1,600 a month, that's probably an unrealistic goal.
Absolutely.
Okay. Because that probably is
So
$1 million.
who's going to help you put those goals in perspective
I would-
with your pocketbook and the houses out there?
I would say if you're working with a buyer broker and you have a lot of confidence in them, that's probably the place to start.
I think that's
Okay.
very good advice.
And just because I'm in the brokerage business, I've seen a lot of people make mistakes because they weren't represented and they bought probably out of what their goal was only because it seemed like a deal at the time and they didn't get enough time to really analyze it. There's one person we just interviewed this week and he bought something with no representation. I walked in and I said, man, you don't have anything done here, nothing done there. Who helped you with this? Oh no, it's just somebody said it was a good deal, so I bought it.
Oh my.
And now he's moved no furniture in the house. He bought all new furniture and he wants to sell the house. Can I break even? We probably can break him even, but he moved no furniture in the house.
Wow.
He's owned it for 4 months already because all of a sudden he found out maybe he should have had representation, so they called us going backwards.
Yeah, that can be a costly mistake.
It's kind of, it's just sad because nobody, the person who was involved, who said he was a broker, has a broker's license, but didn't disclose the house next door was being built. Instead of having a nice side yard, he has 7 foot in the side. And it's just
Yeah.
things you could have seen if you would have had representation.
So bring your goals then. Really, bring your goals to a reputable broker. Sit down and talk with them. It doesn't cost you anything to talk, but it really may save you a lot in the future.
Correct.
Just make sure that that's what you do.
Yeah.
And now the next thing would be, is there any way of finding a house off market?
You can find
What
them,
do
sure.
you think
They're,
about that?
they're for sale by owners, you know. Well, I'm representing a couple of people that have properties off market at the moment that they have found on their own. The difficulty is with both of these cases, and they were semi-investors, so let me clear that air.
Right.
They needed help with financing. They needed help to make sure the value was there. They needed help with putting the deal together, you could say. All right. That's a little bit different than a homeowner looking at something. All right. I still say these are investors are paying my fee above the price that we've negotiated. You understand? So
Yes.
even they found value in that type of information and that type of background, that type of scrutiny into the deal. Okay, so, you know, here you have people who are experienced, they own other property, they're investors, and they pay me money above what's been found out in the open market.
Right.
So, let's just say that you have a client who found a for sale by owner. They might call you and say, okay, I'm working for you, we signed a buyer broker contract, we'll owe a certain fee when you're all done, to me above whatever we negotiated.
Right.
You can blend that into financing today, but at least they have some degree of the expertise you have to travel over to help them not only navigate price, but navigate the inspections if needed, navigate what's going on. But with we have a little bit of experience to offer into the mix of things, you know.
I believe that there's a lot of experience that we have to offer, even if it's just to be another set of eyes, another set of ears for you to listen and to see what's going on. Sometimes you don't always see what's inside of a house, outside the house, the property, the boundaries. There are many, many things.
Yeah, we're looking at what
I think it's very important that
problem is because I've been at it about 56 years.
Well,
some numbers.
then.
So the team members call and ask me about this, and we share it on our team members a lot.
All right.
You know?
So on the conclusion, do you have anything else you would like to say?
No,
follow these principles?
The only time probably people say, when can you make a mistake? I think Coco was asking about that, weren't you, Coco? About how can the only time you probably can make a mistake is if you don't get into the market, because you'll never know if you'll never know if you made a mistake, and there's no way of guaranteeing you won't make a mistake.
Right.
Even with all the experience we had, when the banks closed down, you know, they took about $800,000 from us. I was told you shouldn't have been doing that. Yeah, but it looked pretty good, but I can't control banks.
Right.
And you can't control a lot of stuff
That was a
going on.
tough time
If there's
for
things
everybody.
beyond your control, is it a mistake? It's what happens in the market, you know. And I think you said before you have to have a little bit of a risk tolerance.
Yes,
if you're
you
an
do.
investor.
You have to have a risk tolerance to
You know,
invest.
and you should make sure your spouse goes along with that, because a lot of spouses don't. My wife always kind of put up with what I was doing, and so I've been very blessed that way. And when we had all of that losses in 1990, well, we still have ourselves and we can live somewhere. And we
that's my philosophy.
Yeah, it took us 5 years to negotiate, but it was still fun. I have a good wife and she puts up with me. That's pretty cool.
And that's true, and it is about investment. Can be a lot of fun. It can be very, very thrilling, but
and stressful.
Right. Sometimes, you know, but the rewards can be great as long as you understand that there are down times, and enjoy the rewards when they happen.
True.